So unfortunately, I cannot use the camera I want to. Is this even visible on your end? Because I really can't tell from. My screen looks like a up here. All right. And anybody see this? The unit.
Yep, we could see it.
All right. So this is the new 7000 series. Move up. There we go. And as you can see on this particular part, it looks about the same as the existing one. So these are the old guys, our 4000s. Where you're going to see the changes is when you turn the thing around. So this is the new units. Now, if you look at the arrangement of the various inputs, you're going to see that your DPs, that they have moved those around a little bit. So if the techs are used to plugging wires into certain holes on the old units, on these, they're gonna have to be a little more careful and kind of look to see where they're plugging them in if you want to keep everything exactly the same. If it doesn't matter to you, then they'll just show up in different spots. Another one that has changed is some of these old guys here. The order of those have changed as well. And I'm having a brain fart. I can't think of the name of that plug.
Just call it cereal.
Yep, cereal. Where's the milk with the cereal? Looking at the inside of this, and they're actually in the guidebook that's going to be coming out soon. They have some pretty good pictures of this, so it's probably going to be a little clearer than my camera. The main things are the CPU has changed, and I actually have a flyer here. I downloaded the flyer. So if you go to the QAnot site, they actually have a flyer on this product. And this is going up to AMD Ryzen embedded and then a big old number. It basically is a 2 to 4 gigahertz operation, 2 to 4 megabytes of memory. So there's some more power on it, some more, a little faster, a little bit better CPU on it. The CFast cards, this is probably going to be the biggest change that the techs are going to have to get used to. In our current guy, our 4000s, the techs are used to going over on the left-hand side at the bottom. Make sure I got my left and right organized. So they're used to putting their cards there. And then there's the read and the read write. They split them up on us on this unit. So down at the very bottom on the left-hand side, there's only one slot. And let me get that up higher. Can everybody see that? So the bottom left is just the read. If we go up towards the top right, there's another one. That one's going to be our read write. So that will probably be hardware-wise the biggest change for the technicians. Now there's also the jumper. So one of the jumpers is still up in the same area, and the guidebook will show this a lot better than what I can show you on this camera. But one of the jumpers is kind of up in the area there where the read CFast card holder is. The other one is going to be up in the area where the new one is, and it's going to be kind of in that area. There's a couple little silver round capacitors there and a couple other little chips by it. So it's going to be over in that area. All right. Any questions on those units?
Sorry, you spoke about the jumpers, but what are they used for?
Those are to either allow reading and writing or to stop the reading and writing. So if you're in a jurisdiction where you have to put the jumper in, so there's absolutely no read write on those cards, and that's where you would put it. If you're asking me questions about it, probably it does not impact your area.
Thanks.
Sorry about that. The air conditioning went out here.
Sorry, you kind of broke my logic here. Just want to follow up with that. So you said one card reader is read only and one is read and write, but the jumper is to enable read or write. So how does that jumper react with the read only slot?
You know, that's something I was kind of wondering myself, so I need to go back and ask this came out of the new guidebook, so I need to go back and ask the people who wrote that as to what do they mean and get an answer.
Just want to make sure I wasn't crazy.
Yeah, no, I was kind of thinking the same thing myself. It's like, it doesn't make sense. All right, let me go back to share my screen. And turn the camera off. Was there any other questions on the QXI units? All right. So probably the thing that'd be the most useful to us in the right box. All right, the right screen up. Is that big enough for everybody to see? All right. I'm just going to go through the process of installing the two servers and the software applications. So in our environment, we actually have everything on the desktops here. So everything's been loaded onto our C drive. And then there will be the 3 files. In your guys' environment, you'll have jump drives. So you'll have to go into the terminal where you're doing this and plug it in and then save the files off of the jump drive and just install them onto the server or wherever you're going to put them. Question.
Yeah, so is this a fresh server you're working on here?
Yeah, this is a fresh server. There's nothing on it right now, nothing at all.
Okay, and if we were upgrading, what would be the steps that we need to do to uninstall?
Basically, as simple as we go to our start menu, and I always do. Let's see. And just add, remove programs. And then I just go in here and I look for my two programs that I have on there, my Rapid Express and my console admin. And I would just click on it and say uninstall, and it just takes it off of the terminal. It sounds too simplistic, but that's really all there is to it.
Yeah, there's
So
some
there's
backup
no-
that needs to be done first, right?
Yeah, so like Ron said, there's a lot of work that would be done. I'm mainly focusing on what the technicians are going to need. So yeah, I missed that. You have to go and uninstall the applications. That would be the first step that they would do. More behind the scenes for some of you guys, you would be going and you do backups on the server to make sure you got all the data, uninstall the programs. And then there's the one main database that you're going to have to either put it aside and rename it and get it out of the way, remove it, delete it. It can't have the name it originally had originally. Best thing is just back it up and then just purge out what the original ones were.
Are you able to go over those steps using an active server? Maybe not deleting, but at least how to back up and which files to rename and where they're located.
Let's see if I can find these. And if I can't get it, I'll get some instructions for you. So. All right, I can't remember where it is. I'll get back to you and I'll get you some instructions written up and send it out to you.
Hey, Matt, you're in the right spot. You just don't have it installed. So it would be right there
Oh.
called Rapid Express. And you would have user security as well.
And that,
It would be in system databases.
let's
So
try something here. Yeah, I've got it installed on this guy, so let's. Yeah, this is.
This is still the freshly installed one. We didn't switch VMs.
you should still be able to show them in this, just like right clicking like the temp.db or anything
Yeah.
like that to show them how to do it though.
See if I can get far enough down. I will admit that I'm not a SQL expert on, but I know it's go in and all right, let me see here. I'll do it this other way. If it ever does anything. Yeah, that way's supposed to be the easy way, but let's try this other way. Since we can't see the actual tables and the database, I'm just doing format more than anything. I'm sure that my names are not exactly 100%, but basically you're just creating backups of the tables from that database. So we're creating a new table name, and then we're just backing up everything that's in there. Am I making any sense, or?
If you open your other VM, your other VNC viewer of where it's actually installed, the middle one. Yes. And if you go into the SQL there, it should be present.
Yeah, I thought it was installed on that other box. I'm not sure what's going on. I apologize for these delays. I got a wireless connection, so it's really slow. Which password do we need? Alright, so they changed the password.
Hey Matt, I noticed when you were on that previous PC before Matthew directed you to this installed one, when you selected the master database under tasks, it did give you the ability to back up. Only that temp database one didn't. So that would be the same process.
All right, well, let's
If you
go
wanna-
back to, yeah, let's
yeah.
go back there. So oh, that's the new one. There we go. Where's this? I don't think I'm in the right one here. Let's try to go back.
Hey, Matt, if
Yeah.
you want to move on, we do have a current video and documentation on how to do a database backup.
Oh, okay.
I just thought it would be nice to have all encompassing in one training session.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I can't find the password, so let's
Yep,
just move
you can
on.
just move on. Just everyone remember to do the database backup.
Yeah, very important. All right, since this one already has the software on it, I can at least recreate that part of it. So let's go in here. I'm going to go to my start. And then instead of scrolling here and trying to find it, I find the easiest thing for me is I just type in add and give it a moment. And it comes up add remove programs. So open that up. And then I get all of this. So now I see there's admin console. And then there's my Rapid Express. I'm just going to do them in the same order that as if I was installing them. That's the order I'm going to remove them. I haven't seen or heard anything that says that you have to do it one way or another. So click on this guy and I'm just going to uninstall. Now I didn't go through and delete the database out of this. So if it starts becoming a problematic because of that, then I'll just switch over to the other server and I'll finish the install there if needed. All right, let's see what this is saying. All right, it just wants me to close the application. I went ahead and did that for me. All right, it's finally done. All right, now I'm going to do the same thing, admin console, uninstall. And they come down below there, so click on it. That one was a little bit quicker. All right, so our two applications are uninstalled. So there's that part of it. And we'll assume that the databases have been backed up like we had talked about. And that's ready to go. So now I'm going to go ahead and I clicked on that and you notice that pretty much the icon's still there because I added it. Do I want to remove it? Yes. So let's clean it up, get rid of that. And make sure I don't see it anywhere else. And then I just you don't necessarily have to do this step, but I'm just verifying because sometimes with this VM environment, we have some strange stuff happen. So it looks like it cleaned everything up properly, so we're good. All right. Now, because I didn't go back into SQL and purge the database, I'll attempt to do it on this workstation. We may get to a point where it's going to try to install it and says it's already there and freak out on me. So I think in order to make sure that it's clean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the clean box that I have so that we don't see any extraneous errors or confuse people. So this would be my box, assuming that we were able to successfully do everything. So we've purged our database, we've uninstalled the programs. So now we're at the point where we're ready to reinstall the programs. So picking up kind of where I started a little bit too fast, this is the point where we would load the software off of the jump drive onto the server. So generally it's put onto the C drive. I don't have a camera to show anyone, so we're just going to assume I stuck my jump drive in here. I've pulled up the files, and essentially it's just copying the files and put them in there. So now I'm going to go and locate my files. Should be on my local drive, and it should be in a folder called Hybrid Software. You'll see this other, this is just a version number. We open it up, and then you're going to have 3 files in once you finally get to the root of it. So there's going to be an ETS, an admin console, and then this RPN. Now I can get back to. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to install Rapid Express, which is this ETS SRV file here. We're going to open that up. Now, on your terminals out there, do you do regular Windows updates and update the .NET framework?
No.
All right. In this particular version, it is looking for .NET 4.8. And when you get the actual instructions, it'll go through saying that make sure you have it, and it'll be like 10 pages on how to go and check it and do it, which is all well and good. I have also found, just from clicking, maybe not the cleanest and best way, but it is effective. If I'm uncertain and I can't figure out how to get to determining what .NET framework I have, or I just don't want to spend the time, I could just open this up and start the process. And worst comes to worst, it's going to tell me if I already have it on there. So I get a screen that looks like this. It says, here's the install, but it's saying, well, wait, it's already there, so I can only let you repair it or uninstall it. So it's telling me that this particular terminal is good. I'm just going to close out. I know it's kind of a dirty way to do it, but I'm always looking for the quick workarounds. So we got our .NET framework. We're just going to go and install Rapid Express. So I open it up, click the next. All right, select installation folder. We can just keep the default in there unless there's some kind of protocol that your organization is using where it needs to be installed somewhere else. The typical is we just accept what's there in the default. All right. Install Rapid Express for yourself or for everyone. We always want to make sure we click the everyone button. If you click just me, then you're the only one that's going to be able to see the software, which kind of defeats the purpose. Click next. All right. Which jurisdiction? So on previous installs, which jurisdiction does your area fall under?
We use United States.
All right. I was pretty sure, but I wanted to ask. All right. Click next. All right. Enabling RNG. So which one of these 3 modes is typically used over in your region?
We now select all configurations, enable auto RNG.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of places here in this country, they'll do the middle one. So we'll go next. All right, diagnostic tools. Kind of up to you which ones you want to choose. It comes defaulted, everyone's checked. I've been told at least have the notepad, the other 2 are optional, so what would you prefer?
I would just leave it at default.
All right.
I believe I've heard Wireshark can cause issues.
Yes, every time I've gone through this, and I've talked to all of the experts here in the office, they've always said take off Wireshark.
I
So-
don't remember what issues it causes, but I remember in a training session, it said it caused issues.
It's possible, so it's not really necessary, we can take it off, and even the last one, all the times I've gone through it, they take off the top and the bottom one. Ron strongly recommends keeping Notepad checked because that's very helpful. If there's an issue, they can go in there and they can pull out logs and data a lot easier. All right, so the bottom one I haven't heard any problems with, so we can leave it. All right, and now we just let it do its install. Now, it's going to take a little while for this thing to go through its process. I don't know if anybody caught it, but over here it made the icon. Right. And it kind of popped up a screen there. So at this point, this is in the background. We can close that at any time. We could do what we need to do here and then close it, or close it now. It doesn't really matter. We're pretty much done with that. All right, now we're actually in Rapid Express at this point. Don't do this yet. You want to go to database config. If you start that now, it's going to mess you up. You're probably going to have to uninstall what you just did and go through it again because it gets locked up. Believe me, I did it, so I know. All right, so on here, the SQL server, we're going to leave that as localhost. Use SQL authentication, we accept the default. Username is SA. The password we will need to put in for that, little e t s SERVER, the @ symbol, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Should I repeat that?
You got it documented.
Perfect. Yeah, probably those of you that had done the install before are probably seeing some similarities. All right. Database, Rapid Express, we leave that alone. User security, we leave that alone. Now we click on check database. All right, it gives us a message. We just click OK. And it's going to say database connection is OK. We click OK on that. All right, at this point, it has done what it needs. Down here where it says save configuration, we're going to go ahead and click on that. Do we want to save changes? Yes. All right, save as changes have been saved. Restart Rapid Express server. All right, that doesn't necessarily mean go into a room and getting into SQL. All it means is just we click on the service tab that we started on, and we just click the start button right there. It will go through its little process. Now it tells us that the server is now running, and when we see the stop become available, we know that it's running and going. All right, do we have any questions at this point? All right, I've either bored everyone to death or I'm actually making sense. All right, at this point, we can just go ahead and close the Rapid Express application off. And I'm going to go to the next step. So I'll go on my arrow here and just click up one level in my file structure. The next part of this is going to be the admin console. And I will just go into the admin console setup. my welcome page. I just click next. All right, custom setup options. Kind of up to you guys what you want to do with this. It's recommended is to select all. All right. Is that pretty much what you're doing right now? If you remember?
Yes, yes.
That's all right. On the next screen, again, where do you want the programs installed? The typical is to just let it default to the file that's there. And then how are we installing it? This time it picked up from what I did on the last one and put everyone. So we'll just accept the default that program's available to everyone. All right, confirm our install. We let it do its thing. This one's much faster than the Rapid Express. Click close. And it's actually installed. Now notice it didn't put an application shortcut on the desktop this time. This particular one, it doesn't do that. We have to go and do that. So we're gonna have to go into our, I'm gonna minimize this to get it out of my way. I'm gonna go into here and we see there's our admin console. So I'm just gonna do a right click and I'm gonna go to more and I see pin to taskbar. Go ahead and click that guy. And then you'll see it puts a little icon down on your taskbar. And that's recommended just to kind of keep the monitor clean. If it's your office and you really want that on your desktop, then you can go ahead and click on just move it to the desktop, whichever way that's you're comfortable with. All right. Now we're going to open the application. Come on, you can do it. All right, so everybody saw the error. I intentionally paused so that people could kind of see it, and probably you're going to be alarmed if, for those of you that have never done this, first time you see it, it alarms. It still alarms me every time, and I keep remembering. We can ignore this. It's just saying that the database is not completed yet. We need to go into this application and do a few things, and then the connections will be completed and we will be able to access the database. So we just say, okay, and we can just ignore that. And it did it again. So this is where we're going to start. And it doesn't make sense. It never made sense to me, but we actually start down here in this bottom section, and then we go and do that later. So for the IP address, since these are independent at this time, we're going to do localhost. And it's all one word, lowercase. If you decide to branch out and go to multiple jurisdictions, then that may be different. Going to do SQL authentication. Username is just going to be admin. Password. And this is that same crazy password, only this time it's a capital ETSSERVER at symbol 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're going to test the connection. Okay, so I typed this in wrong. Let's try it again. Okay, I know what I did. That was bad. I got ahead of myself here. It should be a small e at this point. We will get to a big E in a moment. It just isn't liking me today.
Douglas just posted that the username should be SA.
Oh, you are absolutely right. It's right in front of me and I'm not even reading it. Thank you for catching that. Oh, helps when you have the right user. All right, so we got the right user. Now we are going to go ahead and save this. Now we're going to put in our login and our password. This one, this is where admin comes in. Now, the first time we go through this, it has a default password on it. And it's just the same thing, admin.
It's with a capital A.
Yeah. Let's hopefully I don't get this locked up. Oh, that's nice. So it's locked out for half an hour. All right, let's try going to another. It's gone and on it. That one's gone and on it. Wow. This one's gone and on it. This one. This one's got it on it. All right, why don't we take a break for about 10 minutes? I'll see if I can find someone to release it. So come back at 2:30. This is a shame, we're so close. Hello. I'm back. I'll start in about a couple minutes.
Okay.
We got it resolved. All right, is everybody back for the most part? You could just click your little thumb thing if. All right. Okay, I think it's been 10 minutes now, so I'll go ahead and I'll get started again. And if we need to, we can catch people up. So returning back to my screen, this is what should have come up if I could type passwords correctly. So it prompts you right away that you need to change your password. And as somebody said, that I think it was Douglas said in the chat, that this is the point where we would actually change the password to that ETS server. So I'm going to click OK. And we'll do my old password and then my new one. Repeat it. All right, and it tells me my password was successfully changed. So that, and when we change it here, we use the capital E for ETS server at 1234. All right. Now, as soon as I close out of there, it takes me right into the main menu of the admin console. So we're in the program right now. All right. The first thing that we advise is create a login for yourself. Your organizations might have a policy where someone is doing All right, so in the question, I'm going to have to talk to tech services about that. The Fusion was before I came, so I'm not familiar with that product. I apologize, but I will have somebody look into that. My guess is probably not, but I am not sure, so I will ask that question. It's a good question. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a user for myself. I'm sure in your organization you have your own. And as Ron said, if you take a backup of the users and all of the security, you can just upload this. So it's typically for someone like me, technicians that's just doing this, I'm going to go ahead and just create a new one for myself. It's So I'm just going to go to the user list, and then I'll just do new user. You'll notice that a few users come automatically in the system, including the cards. So if you already have cards out there for testing purposes that you use within your organization, those will come back over and be the same. All the other cards, you'll just have to use your backups and bring that back in that way or re-enter them. So I'm going to click on new for a new user.
So
Card
if
ID.
we backed up the database and restored it, would this information already be entered?
Yeah, so kind of at this point, once you got the program in there, then you could pause and you could go and you could reload this information and it would repopulate in there. So this step you could essentially skip.
And it's part of that database backup that we would do first?
Yeah. So it's the one that's the security. And when I'm done with this part, we'll go backwards and because we were able to get these to actually show up, so I can kind of show you where some of that stuff is afterwards. Let me ask, do you want me to go through this user stuff or you just want me to move on to the next step?
It can be useful.
I'll just go through it and you can see it. So here under card ID, I'd enter whatever the card ID is. I'll just make something up. My username. Those are the required fields. The rest are optional. I think probably want first and last name. All right. Try. All right, so I've got my user in here. I need to add access to the applications. So in here, again, if you just upload what you've done, then this would all be pre-populated with whatever you need. For me, I need the admin console. Applications. So these are the different roles for the application. And if you had additional information and you load it in there, then that would come through. I'm going to do administrator. All right, and at this point, I will just click save. And there is my position. Okay, so close out of that. Now, what is the generic password? So I'm just kind of quizzing you guys. Create a brand new user. What's their generic password? If you're not sure, we can go to where it says import users. And down here, it says default password is password. So when you add users this way, that will be their password. All right. At this point, if I wanted to, I could go and test my new login, change the password. I might as well go ahead and do that. Give you a complete picture of what's going on. All right, and again, it's requiring me to change it. There's my password changed. All right, the next thing that the technicians will do is they will upload the reports and assign these to the users. So I would go under report management. I'd go to new report. And then down at the bottom, it says load reports. We'll click on that. And I'll give it a second here to catch up. I just have a slow connection. All right, so it's pulling all of the reports that are in there. You'll notice up here it has .dll. Probably because we have used this workstation so many times, it's auto-populated it. It may, in your case, since you're upgrading. If it doesn't, just go ahead and type that in, and then it should be finding files like that. So at this point, if this wasn't doing this, we would have to click our open button and navigate over to where the files are. So let's just do that in case it. Yeah, it's already pulled it. It won't let me. So I will. If it didn't pull this, you would navigate back into this folder. And then this top one, this is the report folder. So you would just open that. And at this point, you'd click the very top one. And then on your keyboard, you'd hit the control button and the A. It highlights the whole thing. And at that point, you would just go back to our screen. And I would just open all files. It would populate all of this into there. But since I have been doing this on this workstation so many times, it remembers and it just automatically was pulling it for me. And if you get lucky doing the upgrades, it will pull it automatically for you. So at this point, I'm going to highlight the very first report. I'm going to do the same thing I did a minute ago when I was trying to find them. Control button and the A. It highlights everything. And you notice now it's putting in the title of the first one in there. It'll have all of them in here. I just click the open button. And we wait and wait and wait for it to do something. And there it goes. All right. Now we got to assign these reports to users, which users will have these reports. I just highlight the first one. I want my users to have all of these. So I can, again, do the Control A, highlights the whole thing. So maybe not all of my users are going to do this. People that are administrator, executive, game supervisor, pit boss, we'll let them have the reports. Dealers, dealer trainees, no, we're not going to let them have all of them. All right. And then at this point, we just load our reports. Just click OK. I'm sorry. And then all the reports now appear in the list. I know I kind of jumped around a little bit on that one. Any questions about the reports? All right. From here going on, it's basically you're just going to go and pull the screenshots you took of your settings from the system before the upgrade, any reports, anything in information you had about your settings. And it's just a matter of doing the painstaking process of going through and opening up the various configuration options and filling in the information. And like Ron said, we wish that there was a much easier way to do this. Unfortunately, there really isn't. So like, I'd make sure my purge is 180, just as some examples. Players, I got service, I got tip the dealer. And then always click the OK at the top to save it. If you don't do that, you're gonna, if you forget and don't do that, then you click somewhere else, you lose what your changes are. I've already done that a couple of times. All right, there's a question about the QX. I see some conversations going on. All right. That's the basics of this. Any questions or? And you can go ahead and unmute yourself and.
So now that the databases are there, can you go back and just demonstrate backing up and restoring?
Oh, let's take a look here. So here's my Rapid Express. All right, should be in my tasks. I'm half blind and not seeing it, but can always just copy the database. All right. Authentication. Hopefully I don't break anything here. All right, it just does not like my passwords. Right, it's not taking the ones that it should be. Here's our users. Right, rather than dragging us out and wasting a lot of time, I'll get some input on what I'm doing wrong, and we'll just make a tape of this and send it to you. because it's a good question and we should have something documented on this. All right, is there any other questions? Have I lost everybody?
No, I think that covers it.
All right, yeah, I'll get you something on the database backup and then the deleting of the key ones that need to be deleted. Because that is something that should be in the documentation. And then as far as this one, it takes. I just want to show you. All right, so this is one of the guidebooks that we have. And this is the installation. This is actually the prior one. They're working on updating this one. So I'm not really sure which version you guys have. This is the one that's 16.8. So it's designed for that version. However, they are currently revising and updating it and moving things around. And this is the one that'll be available in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so the revised, the updated documentation is going to be ready in a couple weeks.
Yeah, essentially the directive that my boss has is that book has to be published and in your hands before your installs begin.
Okay, perfect.
So that's a directive that went out. So I guarantee you will get something by that point. All right, and then I'll show you this other one here. This is another guidebook. This is the book where I essentially got the information I needed to install and show you what I showed you today. It came out of here. So.
Okay, it looks like this is brand new doc.
Yeah, this one's a brand new documentation. I can send you this.
Okay.
So installing the ETS server components, this would be a key one for you guys to look at. Signing on. This is just a little bit user security. You probably already know this is more the front end of it at this point. Reports, this is all pretty much front end. Configuration, you'll be in here resetting things, so gives all the information on that. I actually found this book to be quite useful to me when I first started here and was trying to learn this stuff. The other book, they've gone through and they've reorganized it, so you'll find that book to be much more useful and much easier to understand as well. So they have come a long ways on the documentation. I saw some of the earlier ones when I first came here, and then someone said, no, don't use that, use this. So I can email you this one right after the meeting, and the other one, we'll make sure that you get that as soon as it comes out.
Sounds good.
All right. So, and I believe you have my email address. So if there's any questions or concerns that come up, just go ahead and shoot them out to me. If I don't have an answer, I will get it support team and get you an answer. All right.
All right.
And I will probably by sometime tomorrow, I will get a copy of the recording of this meeting out to you guys as well.
Okay. Thank you, Matt.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. I know it was a little rough and rocky at the beginning there.
All good. Thanks, Matt.
All right. You're welcome. Have a
Yeah.
great evening, everyone.
Thanks, Matt. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely.